Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for telling my parents, there's a reason my sister can pronounce my 3-syllable name, but not say mama or dada? My, 16 female, name is Clementine. My parents had me when they were 14, and never really raised me, my grandparents did. They decided about 5 years ago they missed their teenage years, so they were going to party now that I wasn't so dependent on them. They had my sister 13 months ago, and started using the fact they were done parenting, and made me a third parent. From pretty much the day they come home from the hospital, I was the one doing the parenting. My education suffered, and I ended up dropping out of school. My parents both worked day jobs and would leave money weekly for me to go out and get the essentials, because when they were done working, they would go out to bars and restaurants, and I'd be stuck at home. When the lockdown began in March and they both started having to work from home, they told me they were going to spend a few weeks with a couple they knew, so they wouldn't feel isolated and would transfer me the same weekly money they gave me every week. I was okay with this since they had left me alone to go on a holiday already. They did, but 4 weeks turned into 8 months, and in that time my sister learned to say my name completely fluently. She can say Nana, some word we think means granddad, my name, and shoe. When my parents came home for Christmas, they didn't notice that she couldn't say mama and awful dada. Instead, gave me money on the 21st to go do the Christmas shopping. They still left me to do the parenting. They did notice yesterday and asked me about it, and I told them the truth. They haven't been around her for her to learn the words, and it's not something I knew I had to teach her. Both parents are upset with me. My friends are saying I should have known, but my nana is on my side. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. They're not mama and dada. They don't want to be mama and dada, and this is 100% their fault. Can you get CPS involved or move back in with your grandma? This is child abuse. And your friends can shut it. It's not your responsibility to be raising her to begin with, let alone teaching her these absentee adults are her parents in any way. As bad as it sounds, I'd rather my parents ran off for the best part of the year again. It'll make it easier when I'm 18, and want full custody of her. Not the a-hole. I'm so sorry because you're in this situation. This is literally child mistreatment and they can't just leave their responsibilities whenever they feel like it, which is legit 24/7, WTF. You're an amazing sister, but think about yourself and your education please. Since I have my junior certification done, I can do an apprenticeship, maybe plumbing or something. And since I have proof through texts, I can easily get full custody of my sister once I turn 18. I consider my sister my own baby at this point. Holy cow. I have few choice words for your sperm and egg donors, but I won't go there. They're abusive to both you and your sister. That's negligent parenting and they both deserve to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. OP, not the a-hole. I'm so sorry you and your sister have to go through with it. Your little sis can't say mama and dada because she doesn't have either. Edit, my grandparents both know and help out. They give me money to simply spend on whatever I want, have a savings account for me and my sister. We can't move in with them because of their living situation and we haven't been in contact with child services for a few reasons. Those reasons being mainly, so I have an awful lot to use against them when I move out with my sister, and selfishly because I consider my sister my baby, and I don't want her going anywhere. I'm planning on doing an apprenticeship. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to use the study room, and saying it doesn't feel like home? Quick background, my mom died when I, 16 female, was 8 and my dad remarried when I was 13. His wife has a son who is 2 years younger than me. The transition was not smooth. We moved in together after they got married, and the house they bought together was supposed to be home for everyone. But I wasn't allowed to have a photo of my mom in the living room with the other photos of family. It was said it would be disrespectful. I said I thought they told us to make it feel like home, and they told me to find another way. I said well it won't feel like home without a photo of my mom up in the living space. They shrugged it off. It was a sore point between us and something I still feel was unfair to me when technically, her family are all strangers to me but they got photos up. So, my dad and his wife converted the old playroom in our house to a study room for me and her son to use for homework, and it has been used lately for remote school. We were allowed to decorate and put whatever photos in our own space. He got the photos he wanted, but I was told to take down the family photo of when my mom was alive. This was a year ago. My dad's wife said it was hard for her to see photos of my mom. I told her it was hard for me to see photos of her in the house, but I coped. When both her and my dad said the final answer was no, I just stopped using the room. My dad told me to not make it such a big deal. I said her son could put up photos of his dead grandpa, but I couldn't put up one of my dead mom, and it wasn't fair. That my mom should be allowed into my spaces. My dad said this needs to be home for everyone, and I said at the time it wasn't home for me. It bothers them now that we're doing school remotely the whole time that I won't use it. I use my bedroom. They said they turned it into a space for school for us, and I should appreciate the effort enough to use it. I told them to let me have a photo of my mom in there and I would, but no was still the answer. My dad said I am being very unfair and childish about it. He also told me I'm the one making it not feel like home. I said they're the ones who refuse to let me have a photo on my desk in the study space too. I pointed out since it's not his wife's space, it should be fine, but they have such a big problem with it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Everything you said was completely correct. If anyone is being childish, it is the adult woman who is hurt by a picture of her stepdaughter's deceased mother. Stand your ground on this one. You're not being an a-hole or unappreciative. OP should remind her dad how her mother would feel if she knew he wouldn't even let her daughter have a picture of her. Talk about disrespecting the dead. Stay strong OP, and know your mother's memory and love will always be with you no matter what. Not the a-hole. Your dad's wife's self-esteem is threatened by a 13-year-old putting up a picture of her dead mom. It is pathetic behavior for an adult woman, and she should be looking into counseling for herself to help her resolve her self-esteem issues. Your dad's behavior is totally unacceptable for not sticking up for you, and allowing his wife's delicate self-worth to dictate your memories and how you remember your late mother. He is neglecting you, and incidentally, he's not doing his wife any favors by enabling her behavior. Not trying to be cruel to you here, just most people do not feel threatened by a dead person. Perhaps show your dad the post. I suspect he knows perfectly well that if it got out that he prevented his daughter from having a photo of her dead mom up, even in private, he would be ridiculed and shamed as a poor dad, which he is. Not the a-hole. This is absolutely the best answer. Please, OP, show your dad this post. How terribly awful they won't let you have pictures of your mom. Not the a-hole. They should not be making these efforts to make it as if your mom didn't exist. Your stepmom seems very insecure and immature about this, and your father should be sticking up for you. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you wanting to put up a picture of your mother. Your stepmom needs to understand she is never going to replace her and make peace with that. Your dad should realize that no matter who he marries, you have a mother and she deserves to be honored in your home. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad I won't participate in therapy, after he listened in on a private conversation? So, I lost my mom when I was 7, I'm now almost 16, and my dad married a few months after she died, 7 to be exact. They were pretty much estranged at the time, so I wasn't surprised. But his moving on so hard and fast was hard for me. He was happier than he had been when my mom was alive. I don't think he loved her anymore. And I think he was hoping I would jump on the chance to start afresh. For me, the first big hurdle was about a week after he got married. He told me he wanted me to see my grandpa less, because he didn't think it was good for me. My grandpa is my mom's mom, and he raised my mom and my uncle from the time they were 2 on his own after my grandma died. He never remarried, and my uncle at the time didn't have any children. I told my dad it wasn't fair, and I needed him. It turns out, he felt my grandpa's decision not to remarry he felt was a bad influence on me, and what I would feel regarding him remarrying. His wife, for the most part, I got along okay with. I was distant. I didn't want to look at anyone else as a mom figure, and I think she was hoping that eventually I would. She wasn't too pushy though, and I know I'm lucky that way. But after that first year, it was insisted we celebrate her on Mother's Day, and that was hard. About 2 years after, when she was pregnant and I had just been told, they asked why I was so sad, and I told them I missed when my family was together and I had my mom. They discouraged me from talking about it, and my dad said it was a hurtful thing to say because our family was different, but we were still a family. Except that feeling has never changed. But I don't speak up. I didn't want to get into trouble for saying anything. My mom's birthday was in December and I was talking to my best friend about it. I was telling her that I really missed the way my family used to be, my mom, and how I disliked how things are now. There was a lot talked about. I was in my room. I was talking pretty low so nobody could hear. But then when I got off the phone, I was confronted with about 30 minutes of the phone conversation from my dad and his wife. I was pissed they eavesdropped on me. They said I didn't talk to them. I pointed out what happened and I got sent to my room without dinner. The next day, my dad said he was getting us all family therapy. I told him I wasn't going to participate because he eavesdropped on me, and then got mad for saying something in a private conversation that he scolded me for saying as a child. He told me I was making life difficult for him by refusing to go, and by talking like that still. Am I the a-hole? I'm not so sure I'm not anymore, so I decided to come on the internet and ask. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. How is he going to react when you say your true feelings in family therapy? It would probably be better for you to have private therapy. I would go and say that you're there because your parents listened to a private conversation. Then, got mad and sent you to bed without eating as punishment. Taking away food as a punishment is a surefire way to get a CPS visit. Not the a-hole, but family therapy might still be helpful. I would definitely tell the therapist pretty quickly about this egregious breach of trust in eavesdropping on your private conversation. If the therapist tries to back them up at all on that front, they probably haven't found a very good therapist. Hopefully the therapist is a good one though, and will help your parents to understand boundaries. And be sure to let the therapist know that your father and stepmother yell at you when you express your feelings. Not the a-hole, you're hurt and grieving. But therapy is good for you. Ask for private therapy before you're willing to deal with family therapy. I'm sorry for your loss. I wasn't offered individual therapy, just family. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for pulling a family meeting with my boyfriend's family, to tell them they either pull their weight or get cut out? I have been with my boyfriend for 6 years and we have 2 sons. His baby sister, 25, just ran into some trouble 3 months ago, and is now looking at 25 plus years in prison because she was dating a guy who was a substance dealer, and when his house was raided, she was charged right alongside him. Now, my boyfriend and I just took our entire savings, $15,000, and put it toward lawyer fees for the past 3 months. I begged to not go with that lawyer because I did not like anything about him. There was a lawyer $10,000 cheaper who was far more intelligent and worked these cases before, but his family had to have this younger lawyer who was more expensive, because, you get what you pay for, with the promise they would throw down cash to help us pay this $35,000. Lo and behold, his family hasn't done jack and neither has the freaking lawyer. His 2 oldest sisters are insurance agents and make over $160,000 a year. His 2 brothers also both have great jobs, and both make nearly $120,000 a year. My boyfriend and I have a combined income of maybe $80,000 a year, if that. Which is the reason why I am infuriated that we are the only ones doing anything. We also are the only ones with kids. So, I called his family up and said we needed a family meeting. We agreed to meet up last night at his eldest sister's, 42, home. When we got there, I lit right into his family about the fact that they are watching us put ourselves into a hole to save his sister's butt, all while guilting us to do more, and that I was freaking done. I told them that from here on out, if they don't start pulling their weight and hold up their end of the bargain, then their contact with the lawyer I paid for will be terminated. We will not be giving them updates or keeping them in the loop. If I'm going to be the only one paying, I'm going to be the only one speaking to the lawyer, basically. All of the sudden, his family is saying they don't have the means to help, and that I am trying to strip them of information they are entitled to and using money against them. As I said, all of them are wealthy with no kids. My boyfriend was on my side last night, but after his sister called him and guilted him some more, he now is on his family's side, regardless of them literally doing nothing. And is saying that I'm being childish about the whole thing and shouldn't have ever said anything. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Honestly, I would just cut my losses. Tell the lawyer his services are no longer required, and that the sister can have a nice free public defender. Don't let them tell you what to do with your money. If it is that important to them, then they can pony up the cash. What god-awful entitled people. Not the a-hole. I agree with this OP. I feel bad for your boyfriend, but he is getting majorly taken advantage of with it being his sister. Not the a-hole. The family is entitled and sucks, and the sister sounds like a mooch. And you and your boyfriend, so they promised to help you pay before you took out your savings, or they said they would after? They told us they would help pay before we took out our savings. They were all supposed to start paying the lawyer monthly after that initial payment. Together we had a plan to each pay $400 apiece, which would have been $1,600 altogether. So far, none of them have held up their end, and my boyfriend and I are the only ones paying. not the a-hole. Good for you for putting your foot down, hopefully not too late. If you're paying for the lawyer, you're the only one entitled to the information. Also, why didn't you choose a lawyer you wanted, since you and your boyfriend are the only ones paying? Because in the long run, my boyfriend's family convinced him that the cheaper lawyer wouldn't do anything to help. Which of course sent him into a panic. At that point, I had to step in and take that extra cost to save his mental state. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.